morning, everyone. Just wanted to say hello. It is May 26th, and this is Gardening Tips Live. I am Amy Hahn, and I'm a Knox County Master Gardener. And I'm joined by my friend and fellow Master Gardener, Lee Cheek. And we're here to talk gardening and what's happening in our yards and in the Knoxville area. What is it? We've been having some beautiful, cool nights and warm days. And but it's really good for some things and not for others. And I am going to get this
Are you going to pin us to the top?
pinned to the top as soon as I can find it. Because with the way things are with...
There it is. It's up.
Okay. Let's see. We got to get it pinned into the group. And what is it, please? I should have this where I could copy and paste it, but I don't. Please click into the video to comment, comment, and see resources we post while we are live. And I will post that. And then I will go to the gardening tips group and I will find it so that other folks can find us. And then we will get going on talking about stuff this morning. Let's see, pin to featured. And then we're going to go into featured and going to set it at the top of featured for right now. As soon as we're done, I'll get this uploaded to YouTube and it will be available permanently, or should be available permanently, or at least for a long time. Nothing in this world is permanent, but you know, we try to make things available. So if you are joining us, and I'm going to do what some folks have asked me to do, I'm going to do the @everyone so people get notifications that we are live. I wish I had a way to just notify the people who want to be notified. If you know how to do that easily and quickly, what is it? Put a message in this post and I will see it. If you private message me, you can put a message just saying that you messaged me about this about how to do it. And I will see that and I will go and look for your private message. But if you just send me a private message, Facebook doesn't send you notifications for private messages that are from people you aren't friends with. And so it makes it hard to see. I don't know if you've experienced that. Well, Brian's joining us. He's also a Knox County Master Gardener, but I don't see his face and he's muted. I think something's happening. Oh, there's Brian's face. Hi, Brian. And he's probably trying to unmute.
There we go.
Hi,
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning, Brian.
Howdy.
And Brian is not driving his car, but he is in the parking lot at Dixie Lee Farmers Market.
Yep.
And so he might end up stepping out of his car to help direct traffic there, but he does have a Master Gardener table there. So if you're in the area, you can go by. They're there till noon on every Saturday morning until October. Or is it till November this year?
To the end of October, yes.
Till the end of October.
Yeah.
Okay. So we haven't really gotten started much. I think do you want to start with the photo contest? Because we have a winner.
Yeah, great.
So let me go ahead and find, oh shoot, I had it found and now I don't have it.
Sounds like me.
Okay, let me find it. Last week we started,
You want to share your screen when you find it?
yeah, I will, but I'm not going to share it while I'm trying to find it.
Good
I
job.
know how that
I
is.
do know how that is.
Yes. Um, but we do have a winner for the photo contest. Let's see, Knoxville area gardening tips. I got to get in the right place. And it is a lovely picture. I'm going to have to do a little working with it to get it to fit the right aspect. But thank you for everyone who entered. And let me just find this. And so I'm going to share my screen here. So Linda Prater with her beautiful photo of, I'm not even, it looks like a fritillary possibly, because that's the way the backside of their leaves look. Leaves, backside of their um, wings on a thistle. Really nice photo. And so she is our contest winner. And so I'm going to put in, I think this isn't working with me having so much open right now. But she is our photo contest winner for now, and I will get that her photo as our group photo before the end of today. So congratulations, Linda. I will send you I will put a comment under your photo and letting you know, and we'll get that up there. But congratulations. And everyone submitted some really lovely photos for this. So now I'm going to switch over to our slideshow. And this is one of Lee's.
Yeah, this is my
I'm,
Lenten rose going to seed. And so when the Lenten rose bloomed in February,
mhm.
it was a pink flower. And now the flower turns cream white. And the inside, you can see inside there is a couple of brown spots that are the seed pods. Now, if you don't want another seedling, a lot of seedlings next year, you need to go ahead and cut these off.
Mhm.
And if you want to look at the next photo, there are the seedlings from last year. And so if you don't want lots of little Lenten roses, or you don't want to share them, you want to not do the seeds.
Right. Yeah, one of the things about it is, that's one where the seedling leaves look pretty different from the mature leaves.
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
They
And
do indeed.
yeah, it is also a plant that if you go to purchase, another name for Lenten rose is hellebore.
Uh-huh.
And when you go to purchase them, they're quite expensive
Yes.
because it is, what is it, probably 5 years from the seedling stage to flowering stage.
Right. Yeah.
So literally you can buy time. Gardening is the one place you can spend money for time.
Uh-huh.
So you can buy a mature Lenten rose, hellebore,
Mm-hmm.
but know that someone or nursery has put years of care into that plant. And that is why sometimes older plants or bigger plants cost more.
Yes.
Okay, next photo.
Okay, so this is a different version of lamb's ear. Macrantha Hummelo, and it is it's got a green leaf instead of the brown fuzzy leaf.
It's
And it's got a
beautiful.
pink flower instead of a purple flower. And
Mm,
if you go to the next photo, you will see this is the classic lamb's
mhm.
ear with the gray foliage and the purple flowers.
Yes, typically historically planted around outhouses
Uh-huh.
for very particular uses.
And it's drought tolerant. It's a
Yeah.
nice perennial.
Mhm.
It spreads nicely, and it's fairly well behaved. Uh,
Yeah.
and so it's nice to have
Hmm.
a nice, but it's originally from the Mediterranean, so
Yeah.
it's not a native.
Right. And it's a nice filler flower. They actually,
Uh-huh.
make decent cut flowers,
uh,
the flower stalks here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
we do.
Ooh, yum.
Okay, black raspberries. So this is a version
I'm
called
sorry.
Can you give me a
Black
quick
Jewel.
answer to one question?
Okay.
And it is it's showing it here. It just started fruiting this week. This is this
Hmm.
morning's picture, and you can see it in about four different stages. So when it is really black, so the one in the center, that's black. I actually uh, picked it this morning and been eating them. And when it comes off easily, it's ripe.
Hmm.
But then you'll see one just sort of directly behind it that still has a little bit of pink to it. Doesn't easily come off. It's not ripe. And the bright red ones are not ripe at all, and
Hmm.
they don't easily come off. And then you can see then even at the bottom of the picture, even some green ones
Yeah.
that are, you definitely don't want to eat.
Mm.
And they don't want to come off at all. Yeah,
Yeah. And what is it? Raspberries, the center of them stays on the plant.
correct. So actually growing up, we used to call these black caps. So
Mm.
they literally come off like a little cap and they leave a little white center where it grew on. Yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah.
that's different than blackberries.
Yes, very different than
And
blackberries.
the
Yeah.
flavor's different too.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yep. Exactly. And then this is arugula flowering. If you don't want arugula everywhere,
Hmm.
you need to cut these flowers off.
Hmm. Yeah. Oh, now we're on to my pictures.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Okay, this is an orchid I have. It's actually in a sort of a southwest, yeah, it would be a west southwest window.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's putting up a flower stalk. You see this stalk going straight up.
Mm-hmm.
So that is a flower stalk. I just saw it today. The ones that are coming out to the side that look sort of like strange fingers, those are actually roots. But that one is a flower stalk. So I'm excited about that. All I do to this is I water it about once a week and make sure it drains. I actually take it out and put it in the sink and water it there. So it fully drains and just the bark mixture that's in here gets wet. And it seems to be perfectly happy with that. And I've actually never fertilized it. I've had it for probably 5 years or more. And it blooms about once a year. And the blooms stay on it for like a month or more, month or two. It's really nice. Okay, this is a little friend in my garden. I have several bunnies that live there. And you can see my yard is not just a single species yard. I have clover, I have some lamb's quarter seedlings. I actually have some yarrow. At some point, I must have cut up yarrow flowers and laid them down in the yard, and the seeds dropped. And I'm going to ask to unmute for Brian, and then he'll be able to unmute. He was just helping someone with parking and parking lot situation over at the farmer's market.
Mm.
But with my lawn being a diverse lawn, the bunnies have plenty to eat, and they always have brand new green stuff to eat because it does get mowed about once a week. And so I rarely have them eat my vegetables, though you will see when I do plant seeds, I will put a container that's cut out, a cylinder around them to make them not as visible to the bunnies because small seedlings are a very attractive snack for little bunnies. Okay. Um, we've been, I planted some snow peas very late. These are called sugar melting snow peas. And I'm actually getting fruit. I am really excited to get to try these. You're supposed to be able to let the peas mature to a pretty far on these, and so I'm letting that happen, and we'll report later about how they are. It's a variety I've never had before. Okay, this is my garlic, and it has made scapes. Hardneck varieties of garlic will make scapes. You can tell I have not weeded my garlic bed this year. I did not fertilize it, and I planted it super late. I've been having some health things go on, but I wanted to preserve the varieties I had. And you can tell some of them, this, okay, so I'll have a row of garlic, and then I have Egyptian walking onions, and then you can see there's two small rows of one of the varieties, another row of the Egyptian walking onions, a couple rows of another variety, but you can tell the different varieties have done very differently. Some of them have barely grown at all. You can see down here, these are just super small, and the leaves are starting to die off. When it gets down to just a couple leaves, I really need to harvest it, or the heads won't have anything covering them, and they won't store until next year's planting time. So I'm afraid I might lose a couple of the varieties that I've been keeping for several years. But you can also see these ones over here are much thicker and have way more green leaves. I'm looking for when the scapes come out, you have about three to 4 weeks before it's usually harvest time. And what I look at is the leaves dying. And when it's down to about 4 green leaves still left at the top, and that's how the leaves will start turning brown from the bottom, yellow and brown from the bottom up. When it's down to about 4 leaves left, that's when I want to harvest them, because that'll give me enough covering for the garlic head so it'll preserve well. Okay, let me get out of this. Oh, I did harvest my scapes, and here they are. So I think this is going to be my entire scape harvest this year. Most years I get considerably more, but as I said, I did plant late. I also didn't plant as many cloves of each garlic. So, every year is different, and you have to roll with the punches. Okay, these are some peppers that I have that I haven't gotten in the ground yet, and I'm having an issue with them, trying to decide how I'm going to deal with it. The little black spots are aphids. And let me see, and normally they would be gone, except this other insect, can you see the ants here, are protecting the aphids and keeping the natural predators who would have come and eaten the aphids from doing their job. So, oh, I also see something that's pretty exciting, but I think the ants will take care of it. Do you see this little cylinder thing here? That is the egg of a syrphid fly, which is also called a hoverfly or a flower fly, but they do these little oval eggs. And so their larvae will eat lots of aphids. but I think the ants will not let it do that. They will interfere with that. So I think I have something that I can sprinkle on there. It's actually an ant bait. It's a spinosad based, which is a organic product that actually breaks down pretty quickly. Um, I think I might have to treat these with it before I plant them and try to get them a little bit healthier. Um, the ants, the ants and the aphids have, well, it's the aphids, but the ants are protecting the aphids from their normal predators, have really set my peppers back this year. So that happens sometimes. Let's see. Also, interestingly enough, the aphids are not on my tomatoes or my basils, which are in that same area. So I don't completely understand it. Okay, got my main vegetable garden tomato bed planted. Yay! So these are the cages I use for my main tomato bed. And I actually do not prune these tomatoes. I don't take off suckers. And I let them grow in these cages and they do well. I also um, plant basils and I plant marigolds. And these are low growing marigolds, but they will spread out and they sort of act as a ground cover as the tomatoes grow. Um, the a lot of times people say the marigolds repel the harmful insects. As I've been watching things, I actually think they attract beneficial insects. And so what happens is you do have less of the harmful insects, but it's because the beneficial insects are doing their job. They come for the marigold flowers, and so they really do work there. Okay. This is another tomato plant I have in a very different situation. This is in a container, and I'm actually growing 3 tomato plants in a pretty tight space. And I am removing the suckers on these. I am pruning this. So you can see this sucker right here. So this is the main stalk of the tomato that has the flowers on it. And then this is just a leaf. And in that little elbow there, there's a sucker that comes out. And so you can just take that and bend it over and it will snap off. If you want to, you can set it in a cup of water and in a couple days it'll have roots. So you can actually make some extra plants if you want to. Um, I'm not in a place where I want extra plants. I've got extra plants. So these will be my first tomatoes of the year because I got these planted really early. Let's see, there's pears are still coming. Lots of pears. I should probably prune this branch because you can see how many are really close together. They should be at least a fist size away from each other. So I probably need to take that one out. Need to take a couple of those. Only problem is I think this is a little too high for me to reach. So they might end up just surviving if they survive. The fruit will be smaller if I don't reduce the number of fruit there. Okay, we were talking earlier about things seeding themselves. This is a plant that regularly seeds itself in my yard. It's called lamb's quarter or goosefoot. It is a crop. It is a wild food crop that is used throughout the world and was used by the Native Americans before colonization. We know for sure they ate the seeds, and we're pretty sure they ate the greens because the greens are pretty tasty. I like them cooked. But a plant, let's talk about the definition of a weed a minute. A weed is a plant where you don't want it. And so it doesn't matter what kind of plant it is. If a tomato comes up in your flower bed, you probably don't want it there. So with the lamb's quarter, I do let some of it grow and I do harvest it and I cook with it. I do like it cooked. Um, if if you are going to try to use it, make sure you've got a positive identification. There really isn't much that looks like lamb's quarter, but you might ask someone who really is experienced with that to make sure you've got the right plant. And when you cook it, you use less of it than you would spinach because it doesn't shrink down as it cooks. Okay, this is another thing that comes out in my garden that to me it is a weed. It is a native plant, but it's called horse nettle. And it does they look like little tiny cherry tomatoes that are yellow and green. And the plant itself is very spiky. I think you can even see, yeah, you can even see the thorns in these pictures. And so it is one it is one that's a weed in my yard for sure. So that's horse nettle. This is a volunteer little tree that was coming up, and it was in the middle of something else, and I hadn't realized it was there. And I saw it and I was like, what's that? And we took some pictures, and it is a seedling of a golden rain tree that my neighbor behind me had. And so we took that one out. It is a non-native plant that drops a lot of seed, and it's not really something I want. They are pretty when they're in bloom, but what is it? It's the gardener's decision what's a weed and what's not. And to me, that's a weed. Now, this is something that is not a weed to me, and I thought I might have lost it. This is called narrow mountain mint. You see these little narrow thready things. It is a very beneficial plant for the pollinators. And at the top, later in the season, it'll have really beautiful white umbral flowers, and they will be covered with um, native bees and really tiny wasps that don't sting people at least. Um, and so it's really a great plant for the beneficial insects, and it is a native. Another native that a lot of people like, and I'd like to see more of it. This is actually common milkweed. It is a pretty aggressive spreader, so not everyone wants it. But it is one of the plants that will support the monarch butterflies. There are other kinds of milkweeds that you can plant that aren't as aggressive spreaders. One of the issues with this is it does underground runners that'll go several feet out from the mother plant. And so it's not easy to keep under control. Okay, this is a native plant that it's the Tennessee coneflower that almost went extinct. And so this was given to me last year, and I haven't gotten it planted, and it is deciding to bloom in this container. So I will get some pictures of it in bloom when I see it. It's a much narrower petal, and you can see a narrower leaf than the regular purple coneflower. Another native plant that's really interesting. It's not quite native to exactly where we are. It is native to the US. It's called fame flower and has sort of these really succulent like petals, leaves, and it does a really pretty fuchsia flower, but it's a tiny flower. But it is really pretty. Okay. And this is an event that's coming up on Monday. Wait, yeah, it is not this coming Monday, but next Monday, June 2nd. And it is at Marble Hall at Lakeshore Park. Larry Weiner is an author. He will be speaking, and he has done a lot of work in landscape design and um, natural landscape design using a lot of native plants and some non-natives, but largely natives. and just, things on how to transition your current landscape into a more natural landscape, but still having it something that's beautiful. And so I've definitely listened to a couple podcasts where he was interviewed. Brian, I don't think you're muted.
Okay, now I'm not. Can I mention something along the lines of what you talk about this event right here? But what you said right before that, you can have a native plant that's not native to where you are. You can have plants that are perfectly happy up in the Smokies, or plants down in the valley, like where we are right here, and um, they won't grow well,
Right.
because that's not their zone right there. And we had a speaker with a tree service,
Hmm.
um, and she says something that surprised me, but I believe this is um, correct right here. No native plants, let's see, were bred for urban or suburban environments.
I agree. Yeah, the native plants, one of the best ways of explaining it is the way our cities and the areas around our houses are not anymore like they were when the native plants were living in them. We have changed the environment around ours, in our subdivisions, in our neighborhoods. And so some plants that are native to even exactly our area aren't going to survive because we have changed it.
Right.
Yeah. Um, the the soil type and the amount of water we get here in East Tennessee, naturally, we would be woodland. And if you've ever seen an area that was not mowed regularly, you see little trees coming up, and they do a succession from like a lot of cedar trees and a lot of hackberry. And over time, those will be overtaken by maples, and then you'll have oaks come in. And I'm sure at one point there were chestnuts coming in. Um, but you have a succession of forest, but our rainfall is sufficient for that. So that is, rain is one of the limiting factors for what happens. Out on the Great Plains, they have less rainfall than we do. And so it can't support the big trees like we have here.
Also, our clay soils
Yeah, our clay soil.
have an effect on native plants, whether they're adapted or not.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep. Oh, Judy says she's got so many little trees in her yard. Yep, and that is part of it. So she's near the National Forest.
But there's also a great program called Tennessee Smart Yards
Yes, there really
that
is.
that is, about maintaining good, healthy yards for the
Mhm.
environment. And you do use natives,
Yes,
you know, um, but you can also use well-behaved perennials.
right. Yeah, there's definitely well-behaved non-native plants out there.
Mhm.
And and there's also some natives that aren't very well behaved. We tend to call those aggressive. Um, but I love plants growing, and I love to see the ecosystem working together. So I have a very diverse landscape on my property. And I've seen some benefits from it. One of the big things I saw, which is probably related to having a diverse landscape, because I'm supporting lots of different beneficial insects and their food sources, truthfully, because the insects that prey on other insects have to have something to eat to be there.
Yes.
It's just if they're in balance, they don't get out of control.
Yeah.
So a couple of years ago, I saw crepe myrtle bark scale on my crepe myrtle and was preparing to make the decision to cut it down or treat it with a systemic pesticide, insecticide the next year. So before I went and bought anything, I looked at it and I found that I had ladybug larvae that were eating the crepe myrtle bark scale. And it's a specific ladybug. It's what is it can be called twice stabbed ladybugs because they're black ladybugs with two red spots, or waxy ladies is what the larvae. They're white and have a waxy coating on them. And they specialize in eating scale insects. And so somewhere in my landscape or somewhere nearby, those were living. And when the bark scale came in, they were like, oh, more food for me. And so they took care of the bark scale for me. I won't tell you that that will always happen if you have a diverse landscape, but that kind of thing is more likely to happen if you have a diverse landscape.
Miss Amy,
Yeah.
along the very lines that you're talking about right here, we get a lot of people that will purchase natural predatory insects
Mhm.
to eradicate their pest problem in their vegetable garden or flower garden and stuff like that right there. And these folks do not understand that this is not a pest or an insecticide action right here.
Right.
You're not going, you will only, the predators will only eat their fill, but they're going to leave some of the pest insects behind for
Right.
the sake of food.
Mm-hmm.
So you will never get rid of the problem that way.
Right. There will never be 100%,
Right.
Destruction of your pest insect.
Right.
And there's probably really no way to do that because even spraying insecticides, you're not going to kill 100%. Let's just talk about aphids. You're not going to kill 100% of the aphids. You're going to have a couple of them that were in places that the spray didn't get to.
Right.
And they will survive. And aphids are sort of unique in this. If one aphid survives, it's essentially already pregnant, and they bear live aphids, and they don't have to mate. And so you can have one aphid turn into thousands of aphids very quickly, but you're very likely to have killed all of the predatory insects that would control them because there aren't near as many of them. I mean, what is it? A ladybug needs hundreds of aphids to go from egg to adult ladybug. And so one ladybug, so you have many less of the predatory insects. And when you kill them, they take longer to recover.
Right.
But those little aphids, they can just pump out more aphids super quickly and just take over an area. One of the things I'm thinking about now is, we're having these cool nights and warm days. What is it? I help maintain the herb spiral at UT Gardens, and we always do a basil demonstration area. And so we planted some basils a couple weeks ago, and then got more planted in yesterday. And I noticed that the bottom leaves of some of the basils that we planted are a little bit yellowed. And that is very likely a disease called basil downy mildew, trying to get started. Um, when we have temperatures, overnight temperatures um, below about 65, that really helps that basil downy mildew. And so what I'm expecting to happen is when we get to places where the nighttime temperatures only get down to about 70, that basil downy mildew will actually lessen. It's not as active, that particular disease, and the basil plants will probably outgrow it. So it is a really big problem in greenhouses where the temperature is more controlled, but it is a disease that prefers more moderate temperatures than hot temperatures. So we're going to keep an eye on those, but we fully expect them to outgrow that disease as the weather gets hotter in the summer. It is a disease, it is a relatively new disease to our area, probably the past maybe 7 years. And it's made basil a lot harder to grow. It used to be super easy and just reliable. But now there are some issues with it. And if you're out there watching, be sure to put something in the comments so we know you're there. And if you have any questions, we will gladly work on answering them. Let's see, are there any other things we should cover? Farmers markets are in full swing. I was able to get some really nice tomatoes. They were very likely plants that were started under cover when it was cooler, but I would say they've probably opened up the covers by now. And so, oh, good. Glad you liked what's going on, what we're talking about, Judy. So they had some really nice tomatoes. I have BLTs in my future. And I never do BLTs in the winter because you can't get good tomatoes. Let's see. Oh, okay. We already talked about the photo contest. We talked about, is there anything else we need to talk about right now? Is there anything folks need to be doing with their roses, Brian?
I wrote on our welcome post last night. We've got a number of people posting pictures of their roses with rose rosette disease.
Oh.
So I wrote a lengthy message on our welcome post last night, giving 4 different web links as a reference. If anybody suspects that they are having problems with rose rosette disease, please check out that article.
Yes.
And you can use our search tool on the homepage and just put rose rosette disease or RRD.
Yeah.
And that should pull that that welcome post up right there. And then from there, you can pick out read the different articles that I wrote about that. There's a lot of misinformation about this. Number one, the virus affects other roses, can travel, and then that is not right. The only thing that can travel is the Europhorite mite that carries the virus, and it doesn't have eyes, it doesn't have wings, but it can float in the air, and it can land on another rose. So that's why we want to take care of this problem as soon as we see it. Pruning it back, you can try to do that, but Dr. Mark Wyndham, who is retired now as a plant pathologist, and he past president of our Holston Rose Society, he says you have about a 30% chance of a rose bush surviving. So go ahead and prune it if you see it. Prune it all, that branch all the way down to the bottom right there. And just keep an eye on it right there. But if you see more progression in there, that means the virus has gone from the point of entry down to the roots and then back up again. And I'm so sad to say that we can't recover it. It won't survive.
Another question I think we all get a lot of times on that is someone's plant will be showing they'll actually remove a plant with rosette and they're saying, when can I plant roses again?
5 days.
So only 5 days.
The reason I say this, and I have shared, I say 7 days, because in that way, if you remove the old one, like say on a Saturday, go ahead and plant the following Saturday. The reason behind this right here is the virus in the plant parts of the old rose bush cannot survive without its host.
Okay.
So when you dig up the old rose bush that's infected, and make sure you dig up all the roots and stuff out of there. The virus cannot survive more than 5 days. So it would be safe.
How should they dispose of that old rose bush?
Cut it in large chunks, put it in a trash bag, tie it up, and put it out for trash. Do not make any attempt to try to compost it or burn it or anything else. Burning it actually facilitates the spread of the mites.
Wow. So they shouldn't plant a new one until 5 days after they've gotten rid of the debris.
Right, at the very least. But I would want to say this right here.
Yeah.
We want to find out how those mites got there in the first place, because we say that they have no eyes, they have no wings, they're about the size of a dust particle, and they float in the air. Well, if we have a heart set on planting another rose after we disposed of the first one right there, if we don't know where those mites came from, you're literally begging for more problems. So it does well to find out what direction they come in. And Dr. Mark would say that our prevailing winds most of the year is coming from the southwest. So that would be a hint as to what direction you might want to look into. Part of a problem that we love about East Tennessee is our forested areas.
Right.
Well, there's a lot of Rosa multifloras growing in these forested areas right there, and that's very likely where they came from.
Okay. Yeah, so you want to keep your eye on that and figure out where they came from.
Now, one thing Mark said at our last Rose Society meeting when he was with us, and I find this I believe the research on this right here, if instead of planting a rose garden with nothing but roses in there, which you want to keep chemical sprays and stuff like that confined to a rose garden, so that would be a good thing. But for the sake of survival, if you interplant roses with other plants right there, especially something like hollies, are equal to or larger than the roses right there, ornamental grasses, anything at all like this right here, have equal chance of catching these Europhorite mites. And the Europhorite mite that causes the rose rosette disease can only survive with a rose host. So by intermixing them right there, you have a greater chance of a healthy rose bush.
Yeah, because you definitely want your rose bush to be healthy.
Yeah, but you don't have to worry that the Europhorite mite, if it lands on your holly or or anything else that it could infect that. No, it will not.
Okay, that's good to know. So you don't really have to worry about that too much.
Nope.
Good. I like hearing that.
I can repeat it if you want me to.
No, I will admit I'm not very much of a rose person. And two things, they bite, because they have thorns, and they do take, some consistent care. Because I'm sure the weather we're having right now is really conducive to black spot,
Yes.
and other problems where when we get into full summer and it's hotter, it's not
And
as
dry
bad.
and drier. Yes.
Yeah, hotter and drier. It's not as bad and not quite as much of an issue.
But I would want to argue that point right there.
Hmm.
There are roses, modern and old garden roses, that are found in abandoned homesteads and cemeteries
Yes.
that nobody is taking care of them.
Hmm.
So part of the problem with this scenario right here, a lot of people love roses. They love looking at them right there. And they have this image of a perfect rose
Yes.
with no blemishes, perfect blooms, fragrant, everything else. And they put too much emphasis on perfection and
Mhm.
not letting a rose bush be a rose bush, if you want to call it that.
Yep, I totally agree with you on that. That people
Yeah,
have this, want for the perfect, for the perfect flower, the
right.
perfect plant, the
Yeah,
plant to look perfect. And if you're able to take a deep breath and lower your expectation on that by maybe 20%, you will be a lot happier a gardener.
yes,
Not just roses, but tomato plants. If you have a few yellow leaves, don't panic.
right.
Don't feel like it's the end of the world. Um, that a little bit of damage on things is part of the natural world.
Actually, part of the injury, like say, for
Mhm.
instance, the tomato plant right there is actually a good thing, because when a plant is attacked by an insect or a disease right there, it builds up a natural defense against that right there. That's
Mhm.
not foolproof, and it's not a guarantee that the problem is going to correct
Right.
itself. But if proper maintenance on that right there, and not high maintenance, we're talking about proper maintenance, good
Right.
airflow, not watering leaves in the
Mhm.
evening. There's many little things like that that contribute to these things right here. And
Yep.
if we avoid that right there, we've got happier plants.
Yes. And happier gardeners.
Yes, very much.
Yeah. So, realistic expectations
Yes,
and enjoy your garden. We definitely want everyone to enjoy their gardens
yes, yes.
and get out
And
of them what they're wanting.
I would want to say, uh, uh, for us, our master gardeners, and I say the master gardeners throughout the country and literally around the world right here. That's what we're here for, is to help
Yes.
people with a plant problem so they can enjoy their garden more instead of stressing out.
Yeah. Yes. Stressing out is not what you want.
Nope.
Yeah.
So holler at us.
Yes. And there's a couple different ways you can contact us. Um, you can contact us by on this Facebook group. You could tag me or Brian or Lee, um, or any of the other admins of our Facebook group. Um, there's a possibility that some of them aren't very active right now because life happens. Um, and or you
School's
can
out. Yeah,
hmm,
school is out. Yeah.
school is out, or you can email us. The email address is kcmgamg@gmail.com. So that's an abbreviation for Knox County Master Gardener, Ask a Master Gardener. And that's at gmail.com. Or you can call us, and what is that phone number? Call us at the extension phone number, and I should have a little card that has that on it, and I'm not seeing one. Oh, it's right here. 865-215-3554. And so you can call us if you have questions, about a more specific or something that you really want to talk to someone about.
Yeah.
And
And you can meet us here at we have various farmers markets throughout the Knox County area. And we have other master gardeners in other counties also.
Yes.
But we have farmers markets at different times of the week. Many are on a Saturday right there. Come see us, come holler at us. We can sit down, we can talk about your problem.
And Brian, Judy just mentioned we can go to the market.
Yes, you can go to the market. Yes.
Talk to Brian. Yeah.
Yeah. And I will try to, right now we don't have all our farmers markets times listed on, the Knox County Master Gardener calendar. But I will work toward getting that done. Leah, I think that Ask a Master Gardener is the wrong one.
Oh, okay.
That link that Lee posted.
Can you give them our web link?
Oh, that's about the Ask a Master Gardener program. If you want to become a Master Gardener.
Yeah.
Well, it's the Master Gardener, our Knox County Master Gardener website has the calendar that you're talking about.
Yeah, but the farmers markets aren't on our calendar yet because I haven't submitted them to the calendar, and I need to.
Okay.
So that people will know. But I'm gonna put email kcmgamg@gmail.com or call 865. This is really exciting for you all to listen to, isn't it? 3554. Okay. Our volunteers will get back to you. You do have to leave a message. It is not a phone number that someone is actively sitting at the phone,
Right.
waiting to answer your call. What is it? We just don't have enough folks to do that, logistics like that. But I see that it's 10 o'clock. And so, what is it? We're going to say bye. Congratulations to Linda for winning the photo contest. And I'm going to get that posted in just a few minutes. And happy gardening, everyone. Have a great week. Bye, y'all.
Bye. Happy Memorial Weekend.
Memorial Day.
Yes.
Yeah.